Hello, welcome to week 2 of my 12-week design challenge. This week I'm working on drafting a vertical seam cup that I got from this ebook published by Marguerite Van Dam. And I'm also using some more of this precious lace that Sophia sent me for our fabric swap collaboration. This time it's a modern Chantilly lace viscose blend. So since this pattern drafting method teaches you how to create a vertical seam cup, I remembered there's this one design that I'm always obsessed with by Samanta Lingerie. They come out with like different versions of these same design lines in most of their collections. And I really like the shape of this vertical seam high apex cup. So my idea was to take this vertical seam draft and turn it into a similar type of design. So what I love about CLO is the ability to test and try out different types of pattern making and pattern manipulation because it's super efficient and you're not wasting any paper and you're not taking time to retrace your pattern over and over again to try something new. You just copy paste the original design and you can work on a new design from that. But you can also try out different pattern making methods in CLO. So any book that you have that teaches pattern making, you just apply the steps in CLO rather than doing it on paper. And so that's what I did for my initial draft of this design. I took the Merckwaerdigh pattern drafting method from the book and I applied it in CLO and I created a model from that and got an idea of what this garment was going to look like before having to sew it up. So after creating this initial draft, which is a result of the method taught in the book, I manipulated the pattern a little bit to look more like the design lines on the Samanta bra that I really like. So you can see here on the top, I have the original bra that I drafted, and on the bottom, I'm showing how I modified the seam lines. So this is just the coolest thing, I think, in CLO because I don't have to sew physical samples of each one of these bras to know how they're going to turn out. And I'll show you what version 1 looked like. So it's really not bad at all for a first go at trying out a new pattern drafting method. It came out a little bit small in the cups and a little bit pointy in the cups. I also only drafted the cups and put them into the frame that I've already been using to make my bras. Okay, so I wanted a little bit more volume in the cups and I wanted to reshape them a little bit. So I went back into CLO and I made these pattern changes. So you can see here I'm highlighting the new pattern. So I've adjusted the seam lines to add a little bit more volume and modify the shaping of the cup just a little bit. And here's how the new 3D model turned out. And then I ended up with a bra that looked like this, which I thought was much better. I still want to see if I can try and get a little bit more roundness out of the cup. So I'm going to be working on that pattern a little bit more, but I was happy enough with this. I wanted to use this as a base pattern to push my design skills a little bit. So if you're interested in learning how to use CLO3D specifically for the development of intimate apparel, you should definitely check out my courses at Wayfinder Intimate Apparel Academy. I teach you the basics of using CLO for the development of intimate apparel, and then in the advanced class, I teach you how to draft an underwire bra from measurements. So you'll learn how to draft a underwire bra pattern in CLO, but you'll also learn how to use CLO to apply any method of pattern making that you want to try out. I also hold a monthly online call for my students to come and ask questions or show their work or get feedback. And in this month's call, I'm actually going to be covering how to draft this vertical seam bra in CLO. And if you're unable to make the call, the lessons are also recorded and uploaded to the community so you can view them on your own time. So if this is the kind of thing you're interested in, go check out my course, wayfinder3d.com, and I'll be happy to see you over there. So of course, since it's Valentine's Day week and I have this beautiful red Chantilly viscose modern lace and I wanted to push my design skills a little bit, I brought that lace into CLO. So the concept I came up with is this long line bra with the scalloped edge at the bottom, and because I brought that lace into CLO, I could figure out the exact placement of how I wanted that scalloped edge to look. Originally, I wanted to put the scalloped edge on the upper cup, but there was no placement that I was really happy with. So I ended up putting it on the bottom edge, which I think works out really nice. And I did mess around with the pattern a little bit more to try and get a little bit more roundness in the cup. So for the cups and frame, I created this lace overlay with the illusion of a plunge down the center front. And then I also added this solid pink duoplex in the outer cup. I was hoping to play with transparency and opacity. It doesn't really come through in the way that I had envisioned, but I still think it's a pretty design overall. Plus, I really always love a pink and red combo, and it's Valentine's Day week, so I thought that worked out really nice. And of course, I had to do a racerback because I love a racerback, and I could take advantage of all of this Chantilly lace that I had available. And then I realized I had enough of this lace left over to create a panty from it. So I designed this thong, and I created this open space in the middle, again, to try and play with the transparency between the open space and the lace overlay. And I really love the way that this design came out. So originally I was going to put just a ring here at the center front, but then my husband said it should be a heart. And I thought that was a really good idea. And although I don't actually have any heart hardware in my studio, I just put it in clo because I thought it was cute. And I also like that the front of this panty kind of reflects what's happening with the racerback on the back of the bra. It's kind of opposite, so I thought that was cool. So once I was happy with the design and pattern in clo, I got to cutting out the material, which took forever, but you get to enjoy as a 30-second montage. And then at this point, my camera had died. So I'm going to fast forward you to the try on. So I'm super happy with how this came out. I think it's really pretty, and I definitely think it reflects the CLO3D model of it. The cups are still a little bit pointy for me, so I am going to work on this pattern a little bit more. I love the eyelash lace edge at the bottom of the frame, and I think the faux plunge works out really nicely. And something else that I thought was really interesting is how these wrinkles are showing up both on the 3D model and on the physical garment. The 3D model isn't exactly replicating what's happening on the physical garment, but I just think it's interesting that the wrinkles are happening in the same place. So you wouldn't believe how hard it was to get all of those seams to line up perfectly with the plunge at the center front. So I think the construction could have used a little bit of refinement there, but I'm actually quite happy with how it turned out because I worked really hard on getting it to where it is. Actually, once I started getting into the construction of this bra, it became very apparent how much complexity I built into this pattern. So the things that made it really difficult is this Chantilly lace has stretch to it and it's full of holes. So it was like really hard to pin it and keep it exactly where you wanted it to stay. Plus it was very lightweight and very slippery. So the material was very difficult to work with. I've seen afterwards that people use this spray, like this 505 spray that you can basically glue the two fabrics together, or to use a stabilizer, some kind of like stabilizer that keeps them together. So I think I would try that next time. If you have any tips for this, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear them. I might have to add a third seam in on the outer cup to give it more roundness there. But I will come back to that probably in the future. But the purpose of the project and of this 12-week challenge is for me to kind of stretch my design skills. And I definitely feel like I did that with this project. So I'm super happy about that. So I'm excited for next week because if you follow the Underdressed podcast, you'll see that I had Beverly Johnson on. And I'm going to actually be having her on 2 more times. We're covering her past, her present, and her future in the bra making industry. So it was a really fantastic episode, and there's a lot to be learned from this lady who's been around for like 40 years in the industry and really has just paved her own path. So I find her very inspiring. Anyway, she has a new class that just came out called the London, and it's all about different types of support. So when you take the class, you get the pattern plus video tutorials on how to put it together. And then she talks about different ways to build support into the garment. So you also get patterns for the different types of support. The other thing that I'm super interested in is creating a sports bra for myself. And the sports bra idea that I'm working on has a built-in collar. So Beverly teaches you how to draft that in this course. And what's cool about this is that I'll do it all in CLO3D. So what I'll do is take her pattern that she provides for you into CLO3D, model it in CLO3D, and then decide if it needs any changes before I actually go to sew it up. So that's the plan for next week. I hope you enjoyed the video today. I know I'm enjoying making them, and I will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye. Make sure to like and subscribe, please.